You know, on October 6th of this year, 7 years, 7 seasons after it debuted, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic will be hitting the big screen. And this will not be for a limited engagement. It won't be for a weekend. It won't be for one night. It'll be a full theatrical release. But knowing that this is going to happen, and seeing the kind of pop culture phenomenon that My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has become, along with its characters, you still have people asking the question, why? Why are there so many adults, young men, young women, husbands, wives, families of all ages, siblings, cousins, people in high school, graduating high school, people entering college, in midterm college, graduating college, starting families, getting married? Why are all these people fans of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic? What did My Little Pony Friendship is Magic do that the other previous incarnations of My Little Pony couldn't do? And even though you have documentaries like A Brony Tale and several others out there trying to answer that question, people still ask it. You know, a lot of people have their opinions of how they feel about those that like My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And they're entitled to their opinions. You know, Black Nerd Comedy, Andre Meadows, probably has respect for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic and what it's become, but isn't too thrilled to always get Equestria Girl or Pony-like DVDs from Shout Factory. And he's entitled to his opinion about that. I mean, he may watch it, but he won't say. He may actually watch an episode here and there just to see what the hubbub is about, but he's not going to come out and do a weekly Sunday vlog or Monday vlog on an episode. You see, you can become a fan, but you can become a fan out of respect and intrigue. And that's what a lot of these men, these women, these mothers, these fathers, these college students, post-college students, these post-grad students, these high school students, these men and women of all ages and sizes. This is what made them become fans, out of the sheer respect and intrigue of what My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has done. I mean, when My Little Pony first began back in the early 80s, everybody knew it was mainly for girls. And Hasbro did everything they could to target boys as well. Generation 1, they introduced a new line of characters that were male ponies, and they tried to bring the young boys into it. I remember because, heck, I grew up at that time. I was like, 7 years old? And I remember that. I was 7 years old. I remember all that. But yet, despite their best efforts, they couldn't succeed. I mean, G.I. Joe and Transformers probably obviously did it a lot better because they had characters like RC and Carly. And on G.I. Joe's side of things, you had Lady J, you had Scarlet, you had CoverGirl. They basically balanced it out, in a sense. And what I mean by balancing it out in a sense is you had that you had those strong female characters that young female viewers could be attracted to and look up to, but they weren't, as shoved in your face all the time as what the original My Little Pony was, and they weren't always song and dancing. No, they weren't. The thing is, they never sang, they never danced. They were mainly just to the point, straight up strong female power. They were just powerful female role models. And that's why G.I. Joe and Transformers succeeded in those categories, no matter what generation or incarnation they were presented in. And a lot of people looked at that and said, well, My Little Pony is nothing like that. The characters are not strong female characters. Megan is not a strong female character. And even during other incarnations, people looked at it that way. They did. I mean, even Jem, the cartoon Jem, not the live action one, but the cartoon Jem, was looked at as a more powerful, more strong willed female role model in a sense that young girls and even young guys could actually watch and look up to. In a way, they made it to where in a way, what Hasbro did back in the mid to late 80s and early and throughout the 90s is they basically made sure that those shows that I mentioned had strong female leads or co-characters or co-star characters, and My Little Pony did not. I mean, despite the best efforts to try to rectify that, to try to get things rectified and say, yes, My Little Pony has strong female characters, they just could never succeed. The closest I think they came in the 90s was with My Little Pony Tales, but the only reason they came close with that was due to the fact that they were doing something a little bit different. They were bringing the pony characters into reality. In other words, they were making them more down-to-earth. You know, these were pony characters that could be looked at as being teenagers, adolescent teens, that went to school, had jobs, things like that. And it was a moderate success, not just due to the fact that it was on Disney, but it was a moderate success, in my opinion, due to the fact that they tried to place a little bit more realism by making them more down to earth. But even despite the moderate success, it just didn't have that kick. It didn't have that necessary shot in the arm to help make them very popular in the eyes of people, in the eyes of anybody. You know, and Generation 3 didn't help at all. You know, a lot of people look at that as like, yeah, that's ponies and everything. And yes, Generation 3 did help probably financially sell a lot of toys, which it did. It just never could, pulp culture-wise and media-wise, it just could never, it could never grasp that brass ring that it needed to grasp. It never could get there. Another thing that I think really hurt it, My Little Pony in a sense, from Generation 1 and Generation 3 respectively, is all the characters were very similar in design. I go back and I talk about Generation 2 and how My Little Pony Tales was that moderate success. It was due to the fact that they were trying to create diversity. They were trying to give characters their own every character their own unique personality and look. They were trying to do that. And I'm not saying Generation 1 didn't try to do it. They did, but it seemed that despite the best efforts, everybody was the same or had the same personalities or something like that. The only thing that made them different was their cutie marks, and that was it. That's all it was. So fast forward to 2010, after so many attempts, and now you enter Lauren Faust, who's the wife of the guy that created the Powerpuff Girls, which she obviously contributed to as well. And now you have a My Little Pony, and now you have this new My Little Pony French show. You have this new My Little Pony show coming out called Friendship is Magic. And of course, the first initial thought by a lot of people is it's just going to be another My Little Pony show that's not going to succeed, and it's going to be gone after 1 or 2 seasons. But lo and behold, look what happens. Friendship is Magic ends up doing something that the others didn't. One, it created diversity in the characters, and it gave each and every character, especially known as the main 6, and a lot of the co-characters, unique looks and unique personalities. That's what it did. It wasn't the characters look the same, the characters are like this and that. No, they ended up giving them unique looks and personalities that made them stand out. So even if you don't watch the show that much, to the point that even if you don't watch the show that much, but you hear about it from other people, other friends, and you see it for the first time, and you see someone like Rarity show up on television, or show up on the screen, and you see what she's doing in her boutique or fashion, whatever, you can instantly be like, oh, that's that Rarity character I've heard about. And you don't even have to see her until that moment. You can be like, oh, that's Rarity. Or if you see a character, basically kicking an apple tree to get apples down, and she has a cowgirl hat, even if you don't know who that is at first, all you have to do is see what they're doing, hear how they act, and you're like, oh, that's Applejack. That is what basically made Friendship is Magic the success among a lot of people. The fact that it has now it was giving us something that the other incarnations of My Little Pony never did. And that was unique incarnations of characters. They were giving us unique personalities. They gave them unique looks to differ them from each other. Like I said, they gave them unique personalities. There was diversity and variety in this show. And that was one of the things that got a lot of people, that got not just the original demographic and age group interested, but that's what got parents interested as well. Because I'm sure when the first few episodes came out and they saw what the ponies looked like, they're thinking, this isn't the ponies I remember. They don't look the same. They don't look the same. They don't act the same. They got completely different They got completely different personalities. But like I said, they gave them because they gave them these unique personalities and looks, it basically made them so different amongst each other. That's part of the reason you had maybe parents start to get intrigued, maybe older siblings get intrigued, and word getting around that, hey, you need to check this show out because it's not like the My Little Ponies we grew up with in the past. It wasn't. And I think one of the major reasons, though, it really succeeded was due to the fact that it was given a unique storyline. It was given a unique story arc. It was given a background. You were given background history to the characters. You were given an origin to the characters. You were given stories that followed up on the background of all the characters. You were given stories that followed up on the origin of certain characters. You had stories that followed up on the origin of certain characters, on how things happened, how things came to be. You had a lot of detail. Basically, you had so much detail thrown in that it blew a lot of people's minds. It really blew their minds to the point that some of the stories that would be presented, some of the story would and what was being referenced or talked about by the characters or presented went over the original demographic and age range heads. It went over the original age demographic of 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. It went over their heads because think about it. You're a parent watching the show, and all of a sudden the kid comes up to you and says, "What? They said this, and they're talking about this. What does that mean? Or who are they referencing? Or da 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 da." And a parent will be like, looking at their kid and going like, "Why are you asking? Or why are you asking this?" And a kid could be like, "Oh, because they were talking." Or a parent could be like, where did you see this at? They could be asking, where did you see this at? And if they say My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, a parent's going to be like, really? They're talking about this? They're referencing that or whatever? They're doing what? In My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic? And by hearing that come out of the young kid's mouth, having those questions asked, they go to the young kid, or they go and watch the show themselves, and that causes them to start to get intrigued. That starts to gain their interest, because now, all of a sudden, here's this show that's originally targeted for the 4 to 5 to 6-year-old, 7-year-old demographic, and now it's bringing the adult demographic in because they're starting to do things, they're starting to tell stories, they're starting to do, make references, they're starting to basically be more complex than originally intended. And Lauren Faust knows this. She knows this. And she knew, I should say, that this was going to happen, because I think one of her goals was to make My Little Pony Friendship is Magic more unique in such a way that not only does it stand on its own, and not only does it have that young demographic, that's the age demographic that's originally targeted for, talking about it, but it's also going to have families talking about it. It's going to have adults talking about it, because it's touching base on a lot of things normally you wouldn't associate with My Little Pony. You wouldn't. And again, it's because of the fact that you have all these more complex story arcs, these origins, these background stories, all being referenced and told about characters like Celestria, Luna, Twilight, Applejack, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, Starlight Glimmer, Sunset Shimmer, you name it. This is, you have all these unique story arcs and storylines coming in, and all these unique references coming about. And this is what's causing people to become intrigued. Even those that may not watch My Little Pony Friendship is Magic become intrigued by this, and they might take a glance here and there. They might watch a clip here and there. They might read up on it on the internet, and that's how they'll become a fan. Because they'll be reading up on stuff on the internet, whether it's through Wikipedia, fan sites, places like Equestria Daily, whatever. They're going to be looking up on it, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this blows my mind. Because it's to paraphrase an old saying. To paraphrase an old saying, okay? And that old saying is, this ain't your grandma's, or this ain't your mom's My Little Pony, or this ain't your grandma's My Little Pony. This is today's My Little Pony. This is a My Little Pony that you didn't think was coming, and yet here it is. And now with the movie coming out in October, you have all these people, all these celebrities wanting to take part in it because of the interest in it, because of the intrigue in the pop culture phenomenon that it's become. And it's all because of this that you have an adult fan base for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, because of the fact that it's like they say, this ain't your mom's My Little Pony. This ain't your grandma's My Little Pony. This is your My Little Pony. This is a My Little Pony for today's society, for today's world. That's not afraid to make references to things. That's not afraid to take a show that's originally targeted for 4 to 8-year-old girls and maybe boys, and make it more complex and have stories that are being told that probably go over the heads of the original targeted demographic. They're not afraid to do it. They're not. I mean, again, you take a look at this Guardians of Harmony toy line or collector's series or whatever you want to call it, and you think people are buying them just so kids can play with them? Yeah, parents are probably doing that, but there are also people out there that are buying them to collect them. You have Ben's Toy Ben and his wife on Ben's Toy Ben that collect My Little Pony, and they collect it for a reason. And that reason being the fact that they have become fans of the show, not by watching the episodes, but by probably by watching the episodes, but they've become fans also due to the intrigue and interest that this show has created, that these characters have created. I mean, again, I go back to what I was talking about. The fact that these characters, this world has a unique, the world is presented in itself. Equestria, Ponyville, it all has a unique personality of its own. That's what it has. It has its own unique personality. It has all these different things you want to learn about and you read that you want to learn more about. And it really creates an intrigue and an interest that cannot be denied. And then going back to the fact that they have stories that sometimes flash back to the early days of the characters, to why they're so, why they're so into this, or why they're so into this, or how this why this affects them today. And we get a flashback or an origin story to the past. Just the fact that they did an origin story in a flashback telling us or telling the people watching this episode that it was Rainbow Dash when she did her sonic rain boom that caused the main six to get their cutie marks. That is huge. In a sense, if you're a fan, it's like that's a huge revelation because you didn't expect that to be how it's revealed how they got the cutie marks. You don't expect that. You don't expect them to have characters like Luna and Celestia that are thousands of years old, but yet are still around. And everything. You don't expect them to have the main leader at the start, Twilight Sparkle, to become a princess. You don't expect them to do that, but yet they dedicate a season to her becoming. They dedicate basically a season of her basically graduating from being a student to being a pure of Celestia, Luna, and Cadence, who we also find out. And this, I mean, just the fact that they do all this. I mean, they take this character that is shining. I mean, you have a male character in shining armor. Okay, he's got his own Guardians of Harmony figure. He's got his own Funko figure. Very popular male character, strong-willed, soldier, action hero, whatever you want to call him. And he's marrying Cadence. And what's the unique connection about this? Twilight Sparkle is his little sister. And thus Cadence, who's another princess, is her sister-in-law and formerly her floral sister or her babysitter. Her BFF, if you will. Thing is, folks, it's things like that. And heck, I don't even have to watch the series that much to know that. And it's because of that intrigue, that research, that interest, that respect for what this has become, the pop culture phenomenon that it is today, that people like me have become fans. It's the reason why people like me have the first 6 seasons on Netflix streaming. Why people like me have the first 5 seasons on DVD. Because of things like that. It's that intrigue. It's that interest. It's doing things you wouldn't expect something like My Little Pony to do. Now, do a lot of people still look at My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is still meant only for girls? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. They look at it in that manner. They still look at it in that manner. Do they think, obviously, when the movie comes out in October, that you're mainly going to have a young demographic of 4 to 8-year-old girls going into the theater on opening weekend, to see the movie, sell out the showings and all that to see the movie? Yeah, in the minds of people that still look at it that way, yes. But here's what's going to happen. Because this has become such a pop culture phenomenon, even to the point that they had a 5-second, 6-second spot in a Super Bowl commercial wearing helmets of the NFL teams, helmets or uniforms of the NFL teams. Here's what's going to happen. I could be wrong, but because this is such a huge pop culture phenomenon, and it's still growing as we speak, you're going to have people going from all ages, all demographics, are going to be attending the film. They're going to be watching the film. They're going to sell it out. They're going to make the film for a while, maybe a week or 2 or 3, the #1 film in America, if not the world. And when that happens, you're going to see exactly why it is a pop culture phenomenon. You're going to see it. You're going to see why. But getting back to what I'm saying is, it's things like that. It's things like that make people become fans. Whether they watch it on a weekly basis or not, or they watch it when they want to watch it, or the fact that they just become fans out of respect for what it has done, for the fact that it is transcended beyond its original target demographic and age range. I mean, I'm sure Lauren Faust, when she made it, yeah, she intended it to be different, to not be your grandma's or your mom's My Little Pony. But I don't think, even though I said it earlier, she probably knew. I don't think originally when she came up with the concept that she believed it would become this big, this huge. I mean, you have Here's what's funny. You had Donald Trump's wife, I believe, quote, or paraphrase or quote something Twilight Sparkle said out of My Little Pony in one of her speeches. That doesn't tell you something, that the fact that the president's wife probably is a fan herself and is going as far as to add something that Twilight Sparkle says in her speech during a presidential election like that. I don't know what other evidence you need. I mean, you have freaking WWE stars that are into it too. And that's not a lie either. You have Dolph Ziggler that's into it. I think Xavier Woods maybe, I'm not sure. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if John Cena's a fan of it either. The fact is, because they become such a huge pop culture media phenomenon, and because of the fact, as I've mentioned, that they, throughout the 7 years, through ups and downs, good episodes, bad episodes, good stories, bad stories, they have done something that has attracted people. And it could be the complexity of the stories. It could be the maturity sometimes in the stories. It could be the references. It could be the acknowledgments. Whatever it is that may go over the head of the original age range for this targeted age range for this show. It's something. Something happened that just clicked and the magic was released, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, heck, you even have Linkara and Vega. Vega, I can understand, because she's into anime, and she does seem like the kind of person that would give it a chance, and boy, did she ever. She's to the point that when somebody sends her and Linkara something in a PO unboxing, that she takes a liking to it. If it's a pony thing, she's happy to get it. Heck, I can almost tell that being around Vega, Linkara's become a brony himself. Well, maybe not a major brony, but when I see him doing reviews almost simultaneously back to back of My Little Pony comics, not just because of views or Patreon or whatever, or holidays, I can tell he's become a fan as well, because when he talked about Rainbow Dash in his Christmas one, in his review of the holiday issue, he got a little defensive about Rainbow Dash. So I can almost sense that Linkara may have become a bit of a fan of Rainbow Dash. Maybe not. But again, speaking of that character, you look at this character and you think, okay, you know she's female. She dresses female. She's a female. She dresses, she dresses up in dresses for formal events and everything. But she's very tomboyish. So is Applejack, and she's like a cowgirl that's tomboyish, but yet you know the female, yet you know that they are characters that will dress up, like I said, for formal events like balls or gatherings or whatever, and yet they're still looked at as being tomboyish, and that's what attracts people to them. It's because of those unique personalities. All in all, folks, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. The reason it has an adult demographic, an adult fan base, is because of everything I've mentioned. Everything else anybody else has mentioned is because of that reason. It's because of one reason, I should say, and that is it has become the pop culture phenomenon, and it has gone and transcended beyond its original age group. Is original targeted age group and gender demographic, if not demographic, and if not original. Basically, it's gone beyond what originally it was intended to be, the original audience it was intended for. That's what it's gone and done. So, that's why, folks, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has an adult demographic fan base. Because of everything I've talked about and everything else people have talked about. Some of you may not agree with it. Some of you may find it weird. Some of you may find it a little unsettling, and that's fine. But here's another reason in closing. Here's another reason. You take a look at you take a look at all that's on television. You take a look at what's on streaming services. And with that exception of streaming services and stuff, you look beyond some of the retro and nostalgic shows they may have. But you look beyond that and all the other stuff they have. You take a look at what cable and broadcast television have. And one thing that I think, and the one thing that I believe is the real, one of the main reasons you got this adult demographic is because My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, is the only good show out there. It has something for everybody. There's no having to switch the channel, block out the view or something, mute something because of language or whatever. It's basically the perfect balance for everybody. For husbands, wives, men, women, teenage boys, teenage girls, college-bound students, male and female, you name it. Families of all ages, of all sizes, you name it. It's because of that being the main reason, along with the fact that it's gone and transcended beyond its original target audience and become the pop culture phenomenon that it is, that even celebrities, athletes are all acknowledging it. So that's why, if anybody's still wondering, why My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has the adult fan base and demographic that it has. Let me know what you guys think down below.